Just let me take a sip of water. Interesting, in the world of living life on your own terms and coming back to center, I haven't been feeling that great, and I'm always well, but once in a few years I get my version of the cold. Haven't been feeling so great, and I would have asked Shamila to introduce me, except that I was busy with my topic this morning. So now I'm introducing myself. And what I'd like to say is that we're in such a great space here where we can learn about living life on our own terms in so many different ways. We start off in life. You see, I believe this. I'm a healing breakthrough coach. I believe in unbecoming who you're not. That is part of the title of my latest book, which is soon to be published. And I'm also a yoga instructor and Akashic Records reader and teacher. So when it's all about living life on your own terms, that was my journey, the path of unbecoming who I was not. So I started off in life like we all did. You know, we get educated into what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. This is the way you do things. This is the way you don't do things. And gradually, one actually finds the path of who one is. Now, for some people, like Danielle, you're 19, you're already finding your path. I wish I had that much wisdom at 19, but it took me decades to find my path. I'm just reading the chat here. What's the name of your book? The Truth Walker's Journey, the Unbecoming of Who You Are Not, but it will be available soon. I'll keep you posted. It hasn't been published yet. It's still in the process. So how do we actually start living life on our own terms? We start doing what means something to us. We start eating what means something to us. We start living in a way that means something to us. And when we're constantly fulfilling an expectation of someone else, then we're just not able to live in a way where it fills us at all. We're not able to just be in that space of feeling like we're comfortable in our own skin. And that's where I was so many years ago. And it took me a while to get there. So I have 3 questions for you. And I want to begin, before I ask the questions, by talking about the contrast. This is going to be interactive. So, you know, what we were discussing about what we see as positive, what we see as negative. I was just saying yesterday at our Bubbles Beyond Borders youth event that when we look at whatever's positive, whatever's negative, we're thinking that they're separate entities, but they're not, because in that contrast of seeing something that we don't want, we start knowing what we do want. You know, when you're wearing uncomfortable shoes and you're walking in them, you start thinking, I wish my shoes were like this. I wish they were comfortable like this. You start knowing what you do want. So let's stop villainizing the contrast. Let's stop villainizing that which we don't want, because we can find what we do want there. And then 3, I don't like the word laws. I'm a free spirit, but let's, for the purposes of this, just call it laws. 3 laws that I've come across, and you don't need to believe them or agree with them. But Survival alone contributes little. That's the first thing. When we're in a space of surviving, trying to meet expectations, there's nothing or little that we can contribute, because we're not being ourselves. And yes, we all together in a space of unity, we create amazing miracles. But when you take that unity apart, it's in our diversity that we have our strength. We each bring something unique to the table. So survival alone contributes little to us or to anyone else. And the second law that I've discovered in life is claiming more is not taking away from the whole. Because the more, claiming more is just saying that I can put my stake in the ground and I am worthy of it. And by claiming what you are worthy of, which is more than you could ever think, you're not taking away from the whole, you're contributing to the whole. The third thing relates to that second thing about claiming more. The more I claim from the whole, the more the whole gives. Because we're building up that whole, so it becomes bigger. So the more I claim, the more I'm filling myself up, the more I'm contributing, the more the whole grows. And it's just a spiral where we get to the next level. So those are the three things. And I'd like you to just be with, this is something that I wrote, but I'd like to just be with us. And if you like, just close your eyes. And it's about the intention. What feeling do you get from this? Just claiming more is not taking away from the whole. The more I claim from the whole, the more the whole gives. I need no justification, no explanation, no reason, no purpose, no nothing. I get to step in because I choose to. There is no because. I get to. I want to. I claim my sovereignty. I claim me. It is done. I claim me fully. I own who I am. I fill my shoes. I fill my cup to overflowing. Overflowing is my right. Overflowing is my privilege. I am the fertile soil, the unlimited being, breaking through the blue sky. I choose, it is mine. And just be with that. And if you can just type into the chat, feel you feel, because when all, what does that feeling feel like? And we'll just be with that. And if you're still thinking about it and feeling it out, then type into the chat. I will check the chat, and Shamima, if you could please also check the chat. Shamima is really great being the tech person. She's the website designer and she does everything behind the scenes. So while it looks like I'm in front, she's doing all sorts of things behind the scenes. So 3 questions for life. Feeling that feeling you felt now. And for me, it was a feeling of freedom. It was a feeling of release. It was a feeling of just being. Let me ask you, what is your disconnect? And Okay, I'm just reading in the chat, Tabisile, it makes me feel like I'm in control of my life. It's wonderful. And I love the word control, because we always think of control as like control, take the reins, but it's also a freedom, you know, just being able to say, well, I'm in the driver's seat, I get to choose. Peter Michael, I notice it feels like cultivating human soil for human skills to take root. Oh, that is so beautiful. Cultivating human soil. And I feel that. I feel that preparing the soil, the human skills have been planted and they're taking root. That's beautiful. Britta, yes, freedom is the feeling. Awesome. Yeah. And just going with that feeling, let me ask you, what is your disconnect? So this is very hands-on, and you can use your paper or your poster board or your journal, and it's not a criticism. We all have a disconnect. So when I ask, what is the disconnect? I'm asking, what doesn't feel comfortable right now in life? What doesn't feel like it's your own terms? What feels like you are having to compromise or bend or, you know, dance to a certain tune, which isn't even your tune? So if anything feels like that, just write it down. You're welcome to share in the chat. I know it's a very personal question, so if you don't want to, just write it in your journal. What is the disconnect? And we're just going to feel that. I'll just take a few seconds of silence. And sometimes a disconnect isn't something that we're doing that we don't like. Sometimes the disconnect is just feeling a little far away from what we know we can do, like not taking a step into it. Disconnect can be, like we said about positive or negative, it can be a really great thing. And even if you perceive it as negative, it can be very constructive. So it can stand for, the dis of disconnect can stand for deepest intention sidelined. You haven't stepped into it yet. You haven't stepped into the deepest intention. You've sidelined it and you're going through other motions because you haven't claimed what's yours. You haven't claimed more. And now when you claim more, the whole will give you more. The other thing disconnect can stand for, at the turning point, right now in this moment, it can be deepest intention sparked. So maybe right now, you've just had a moment of, this is what I want to step into. This is who I am. This is what I'm excited about. And this is what I want to do. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that Facebook Live. I am going to have that event. I am going to stand up and attend a specific event where I can read my poem. And I'm going to share my writing. Tabisile, I know you're on here, and we had a discussion over email about writing. And I'm a writer too, and I know that it's a very personal thing to share one's writing because it's a piece of one's soul. And anyone who has any sort of art, which is all of us here, we are in the space of, can I share it? And there's a certain vulnerability about that. And whatever your art is, whether it's teaching, whether it's healing, whether it's art in its, painting or writing or anything, that's all our art. Or maybe it's running certain events, contributing to unity in some way. Mira, thank you so much for sharing in the chat. I feel so disengaged or disconnected from humanity right now. And that is so true. And especially in these 2.5 years, we've had to learn a whole new way of being. Just like what Tom said about what does that tangerine have to teach you, as it goes into your system. This period of life has had to teach us something as it went into our system, and we accepted it and we assimilated and digested it in a certain way. And some things, some aspects of this, we couldn't come back to center from. We felt like we haven't coped yet. And there may be a sense of grief. There may be a sense of, I can't believe this, disbelief, or even a sense of fear for many people. And that's okay, because once you recognize that, we know what we want. If you know you're disengaged or disconnected, or that's how you feel, you feel like, I know that I want to be connected. I want to be engaged. And that's where it all comes from. So let's go into the deepest intention sparked and just have a turning point here. Dwayne, I'm reading yours. The disconnect is food. Managing a healthy diet in an unwholesome civilization of poisoned grocery stores. Oh my word, how many of us are having that? Dwayne, in our family, we talk about this all the time. We bought some citrus about a week or two ago, and it was sweet. Some of it was dry, but I know my mom kept on saying that this citrus, because we bought a whole box and we were eating it between us. The citrus looks so big. It looks hybridized. We don't necessarily always have the time to eat pure, grow something in our own garden. And we can't make the time. We're having to create a change. But I also share that disconnect, and I'm not sure what to do about it yet. But I know Tom's a leader in that, and he'll lead the way. So going into the 3 questions. The first one was, what is your disconnect? And maybe you have that. The second question, what are you healing to? Now, that may be a strange question. What are you healing to? I sincerely do not believe from something. I believe is a natural process of life, A, that we're always healing, B, and that it is the way we go to our next evolutionary level, heal to our next evolutionary level. So the question is, what are you healing to? Put another way, what is your next level for you? And just take a few seconds of silence. What is that in your heart? And just breathe. You don't have to think about it. You can actually, oh, okay. I saw someone in the waiting room. Yes, you don't have to think about it. You can actually just see what comes to you. What am I healing to? And then when we go into that next evolutionary level, then we know that what was our disconnect has become our deepest intention sparked. That dis has become deepest intention sparked instead of deepest intention sidelined. Then the third question, and for me, this is what I teach, this is the path I believe in. How will you unbecome who you are not? So let's go into that. I'm reading the chat again. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet. That is a perfect place, right? I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet. Neither do I. And that is just stepping into what are you healing to? And I think that's such a brilliant place to be. So let's go into the unbecoming who you are not, with that in mind, with that spirit. You could be anything. You could unbecome anything. Because when we started off as babies, we did not hesitate to say, or to cry for milk, to cry for a hug, or anything that we needed. We didn't hesitate. We decided to just step into it, because first, we had no a feeling of rejection. We somehow just knew that we'll be accepted. And then secondly, we knew about abundance. And when we know about abundance, we just feel that, oh my word, of course it's going to be available. And we started off knowing who we are, knowing our worth. And then we got raised by the village that raised us, a very well-meaning village. But they also, these adults, had insecurities of their own, fears of their own, disconnects of their own. And from just being in that space, those filtered down to us. And by the time we got into teenagehood, by the time we got to young adults, we stopped seeing who we truly are, and we had become what we aren't. It is not natural for us to be in fear the whole time, or to be in fight or flight, or to be in a state of disconnect. It is our natural condition to be connected to ourselves, to each other, to the earth, to our universe. And somehow we stop doing that. So how do we unbecome who we're not? Because we can't just do it in a second. You can't get to the state of perfect worthiness when you're here in a state of fear. It just doesn't work. So here's a little something about me. When I am, let's say, at my most stressed out, and I don't really get that stressed out anymore, but in the morning, when everyone starts with a clean slate and they say, oh, you set the tone for the morning, I wake up and I feel like I've started sometimes with yesterday's slate. And that would probably be my most stressed out time. In order to get to my next level of feeling worthy, to what I call the rebirth zone, instead of being in the red zone where I feel depleted, I will start what I call one of the unbecoming building blocks, which I normally start with the building block of gratitude, making a list of things that I'm grateful for, not intellectually, like, oh, my family, my bed, my shelter, whatever. No, it's what I feel in that moment. So if I just feel grateful for the warmth, that's what I'm grateful for. If I feel grateful for, the picture on my wall, it's that. And I just go through 5 things and then 5 more. And once I start going, then I'm at the next level, and I can use one of the other unbecoming building blocks. So there's a technique that you can use in the moment when you're stressed out, when you're in someone else's home, when you're at a gathering where you can't just leave and take yourself out of there. When you're about to speak, just go through that building block of gratitude. And there's several others. There's meditation, there's education, and I don't have time to go through that now, but these 5 building blocks: education, meditation, gratitude, connection to your center, higher self, God within, source within, universe, whatever you're going to call that. And then the last one is the building block of empathy. But these techniques that you can use. So when we say, how do you live your life in your own terms? You do it by starting every day. And one of those things into the space, into that rebirth zone, into the space of not feeling disconnected with deepest intention, sidelined, where you're feeling deepest intention sparked and above. And you're getting into the space of love and light. You know what you're healing to. You're unbecoming who you're not. And you know that the more you claim from the whole, the more the whole gives. So my challenge to you is those questions that you wrote, to go through them whenever you feel called to, maybe every day. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? And I'm just going to read the chat. How to get rid of our unworthiness and shortcomings. Okay. Anchoring a cosmic heart that embraces compassion, consistent with recognizing it is deeper than the human heart. Thank you, Peter Michael. I want to read through that again. And by the way, everyone, if you want to, you can save the chat. Cosmic heart being one of compassion. Love it. And Dwayne, that discussion about following the Dharma and then how to get rid of our unworthiness and shortcomings, that's such a great discussion. Probably a 2-hour discussion, but it's a really great discussion. Tom, I love the idea that taking care of yesterday's slate is the beginning of chronic disease. Oh my word, such deep ideas. We could have lots of discussions there. Thank you, everyone. And if you need to contact me, actually, if you need to contact any of our speakers, if you want to put your details in the chat, please do, and everyone is welcome to contact you. We will now just have a